Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 243. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, and joining me here as always, except when he's not, is BT Calloway.
Ahoy. Ahoy.
And joining us for the first time, DreadedGM.
Yar! Well met, how are you? That might have blown out. Let me go again. Yar! Well met, how are you? Hopefully that one didn't.
Nothing better than a pirate that's considerate about their levels.
Yeah. Exactly. Ooh, it's good to be here, guys. I'm very excited to chat some Simpsons with you.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for joining us for the Simpsons Index. We review Simpsons, old and new, good and bad. We're going through it all because someone has to. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we like to bring on special guests who have experience and history with the Simpsons. And so, Dread, why don't you tell us about your Simpsons history?
My Simpsons history.
Where did the show first begin?
Wow, it's the dawn of time. Simpsons has always been here. It's the eternal entity, isn't it, in the entertainment industry?
Death, taxes, and a new Simpsons.
Exactly right. Simpsons. I can't remember a time that I wasn't watching Simpsons. There was even episodes I was able to recite when I was a kid. So like Simpsons was always the 6:30 after Neighbours sort of show that you would watch, and you would sit down with your siblings and parents if they enjoyed it, and you would watch The Simpsons. And it's, old and true. It's always there, like I said. So Simpsons is very fond in my memory. However, obviously over 37 seasons, I want to say.
They're up to 34, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we could be wrong.
Are they renewed to 37 though?
Renewed to 36.
Yeah, I've definitely lost touch with Simpsons fully. I try to check back in whenever I can and binge the episodes. But yeah, as I said, Simpsons has always really been a part of my life, and will probably continue to do so.
Yeah, well, on the flip side of that question, have you kept up with the new episodes at all? And is there any that you remember stand out to you especially? Or
we were watching the newest season recently, and we were just sad by the end of it. It was very sad. There was an episode with the gazebo, I believe, and it was Milhouse's dad trying to wash information and history about his family because they screwed, like the Van Houtens screwed something up in the past and it followed them, and Milhouse was the next generation to sort of be shamed with that thing that they had with the gazebo incident. And my partner, she told me to turn it off because she was too sad to watch any more Simpsons, which is now something I've never really truly experienced with Simpsons until just recently. But other than that, yeah, I try to keep up with it, especially the fantasy-based ones. And they recently did a video game one as well where it was like Minecraft or Roblox, I believe.
Yeah, I did see that one where they figured out a glitch where they could make money through it or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I try to keep up with it whenever I'm sitting on the couch and I have nothing new to watch. I'll check in and see if there's anything that interests me and cherry pick, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely different from classic Simpsons.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely changed over the years.
What are some of the classic episodes that you love? Like, I know it's a very big question. There's a lot of episodes that fit that category of the best. But yeah, what are some ones that stand out to you?
Ones that come to mind, you've got the Gorge Jump. You've also got, the Simpsons, like Lisa getting saxophone as well. That's a big one and kind of relevant for the one we're going to be watching. We're talking about today.
Well. Yeah, because of that, like, I try to pick an episode that can at least somewhat relate to the guest and your interest and whatever. And yeah, this one, Woohoo Dunnit. This is a whodunit of an episode. And I thought, mystery and everything, sort of tying into what we're doing over on your Twitch channel. So, yeah, why don't you tell the people about, that?
So we are currently on DreadedGM Twitch running a Call of Cthulhu campaign, which is a very large campaign called Horror on the Orient Express. I run predominantly and work in predominantly the tabletop role-playing space. So Call of Cthulhu is a system which is amazing because it's all about investigation. It's all about slow burn, social social exchanges. There's just a lot of cool storytelling there that games like Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and fantasy-based games don't really have they don't specialize in as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Cthulhu is all eldritch horror and the great beyond, and the more you're curious, the more you go insane and fun stuff like that. But it's a great game, and unfortunately I have the luck to have Elliot on that game as well. We're having a lot of fun. Irvin's a great character. You can definitely feel the Simpsons in Irvin as well.
Yeah, I was in Good Games the other day and I saw the core book for the Terror on the Orient Express. I'm like, spoilers, but
you know what? I'm just gonna not look.
Just have a little flip.
You can, though. Yeah.
There's the.
Well, that's the great pairing of you two here today, the perpetual GMs or DMs. Like, I don't think, Beej, you've ever played a Dungeons and Dragons game where you weren't the tabletop?
I have played a couple, not many.
Yeah.
So I've had other people occasionally run the DMing, but yeah, not a lot. I think maybe like because, you know, my brother Phil, who is often on this show, he started off as being our DM and then we switched at a certain point, and it's been like that ever since.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's an honor and a privilege to get to DM people, especially when you get to the end of a session and people are like, I don't know how you do that. It's like, I make most of that shit up on the spot.
I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Let's go. Woo!
And that's how I do it. It's all made up.
So you predominantly GM?
Yeah, predominantly.
Can I ask a question that's kind of like
go.
in topic?
Yeah.
What have you sort of like taken from storytelling from Simpsons that you might have brought into your tabletop games?
Great question.
I definitely had a super fun happy slide in the middle of a dungeon once. They pulled the lever, of course they did, and that just to separate it, that split the party. Other than that, I don't think there's been too much. Oh yeah, I did. They missed a reference once because they were fighting a group of harpies and one had a crown, and not one of them figured out that was the queen of the harpies.
Oh yes.
And I was very disappointed.
That's so good. Yeah. I love dropping references like that in my games, and hopefully someone picks up on it. The easy go-tos, obviously, is like Lord of the Rings, but when you can sneak one in that you really love, and if someone looks across at the table and they've noticed that reference,
they give you that eyebrow of, is this what I think it is? And you're like, oh yeah, it is.
Big moment for any GM or storyteller that puts a reference or a homage in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That rules. Now I'm wondering if anyone's written the rules for a potential Simpsons role-playing game.
I'm not going to lie. I sat down for the podcast and I was like, why hasn't anyone done a Simpsons one-shot or something Simpson-based? Because
look, I've considered it. It's just a question of, are you then playing a role within this world, and then what exactly are your mechanics? But, you know, if I ever get the time, there is a Simpsons paralleled themed adventure waiting for... I plan it for it to be for Elliot and Danny.
Ooh.
But, Time. Good Lord.
Fickle mistress or master.
Mistress it is. Stay tuned to the Patreon for that in like a year.
Quick tangent, very quick tangent.
Yeah.
Best Simpsons video game, question mark?
And it's got to be Hit and Run, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of horses in that race, but so many of them just stumble out of the gate. And
yeah. I mean, I didn't mind. I remember playing one on the PSP, and I think that was Simpsons, the game.
The Simpsons game. I haven't gotten deep into that, but that's got a bit of a reputation, yeah.
Yeah, so like it wasn't bad, but like, Simpsons Hit and Run is like the hands down.
It's the go-to.
It's the go-to, yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah, let's hook into this one. So yeah, this was Season 30, Episode 22, Woohoo Dunnit. First released in May of 2019, directed by Stephen Dean Moore, written by Brian Kelly. In this episode, this is another one of these Simpsons switching up the format sort of episodes where they're taking on the show stylings of Dateline and looking into like one of the soft TV current affair in mystery investigation things to find out who took the money out of Marge's little cleaning can under the sink. Hey, what did we think?
I wish I had just turned on Who Shot Mr. Burns.
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually about that episode particularly because I think Simpsons unraveling a good mystery. How did that episode resonate with you as a kid? Do you remember?
It was, again, one of those episodes to hearken. You remember that episode, and most Simpsons fans will remember that episode because it was one of the great episodes.
Yeah.
Especially since like you're sitting there and everyone is lined up to be the potential shooter.
Oh, definitely.
And I think I remember back in the day they used to have ads on TV, And I bet you I think I remember ads for Who Shot Mr. Burns and promotion for an episode like that.
And then there was all like the, discussions in the playground and theories and...
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, that's it. That was such an ambitious episode. Like The Simpsons' first two-parter, and to hang it over a summer, I mean... It was kind of spoiled for us because we got the episode so much later than America. But yeah, this one, I find it difficult to provoke any sort of conversation around how the mystery unfolded.
Because it kind of doesn't. It's got its format, but it kind of breaks format a lot, and it's not clear what's meant to be a reenactment and what is just the characters doing things. And then it's like, but is this meant to be in the hypothetical show, or is this a separate moment from the show, or what? How does this all fit together? Which isn't the worst, but it does lose a lot of steam as you kind of go through.
I try to think what other, because this isn't the second time that they've done an episode that's like an investigation on who did it or what happened, right?
Yeah.
And no more comes to mind because obviously the GOAT, Who Shot Mr. Burns.
Yep.
But I think in this case, the problem was, for me as a storyteller, is that the stakes weren't that high. I wasn't interested in the mystery. Like, they lost a bunch of money. Yes, that's huge. And that was like Lisa's college fund, but like I wasn't like looking for who it was. And, like you think of like an episode like Who Shot Mr. Burns, you want to know who shot Mr. Burns. Like that's quite literally a big deal, more bigger than, the rainy day fund or the college fund under the sink.
That's the thing. There's no emotional hit to it. Like Lisa loses her college fund. We don't see her worried about that at all.
Well, they undermine its own importance anyway with the narrator going, and that was going to go to 3 weeks without a food plan and something like that, which, fine line, but also... Yeah, you're really not giving the MacGuffin that much importance here.
And honestly, that could have been played for more of a joke if it was, it was $600. I mean, it sucks, but why is there a whole film crew here for this? And that kind of thing of like, it's bad, but why are we getting a documentary?
I think there was actually it was one of the most recent episodes that may have done it better, and that was the influencer episode, where the Simpsons went missing and you were trying to find where the Simpsons were. If you've seen this episode, I'm not sure if you guys, I assume you've seen this episode.
I don't think I have.
Okay, so there is an influencer episode, and YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and they go missing. They're gone, and all their followers are trying to find them, and all their followers are also trying to be influencers. So they're trying to find a way to, make a profit or growth off the loss of the Simpsons. And it's one of those exclusives where they're diving into the influencer life of the Simpsons, and trying to find out where they went, what happened to them, did someone do something for popularity or something like that. And I think that one was better.
Well, like you said, there's actually stakes to that. It sounds like that episode. Like, here it's just there's money missing.
We lost some money.
Vegetarian buffet, no steaks.
Where did the Simpsons go? That's immediately way more interesting, and using that filter through, like, I do question why they bothered using the Dateline filter here, because it lacked consequence.
Have they done that before? I know they've done that with like
I feel like this is sitting somewhere between like Behind the Laughter and Who Shot Mr. Burns. So
like an excuse essentially for the talking head interviews in that sort of style. But again, Beej, you mentioned the reenactments before. They only sort of happened a couple of times, and it felt like it was just, this is when they think it'll be funny to do a reenactment sketch. It wasn't like a recurring thing.
Yeah, and it kind of just cut away to too many random things. Like, a good example of a joke that I liked and then got worse was Grandpa's telling a long, rambly story, and Lisa's like, look, don't talk to Grandpa. He made Ken Burns want to quit. And that was, I got a chuckle out of that, but then it cuts to Ken Burns in therapy, and it's like, no, don't tell then show. Like, the line was funny enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, but in the terms of like this documentary, did they go to Ken Burns's psychotherapy sessions? What the hell is happening?
Yeah, you're not allowed to film those.
No, not without Ken Burns' expressed permission.
Exactly.
And speaking of which, one of the guest stars for this episode, Ken Burns, was playing himself there.
Really? Oh, that's great. I love when that happens.
Yeah.
To your point, BT, one of the things that I really appreciated for the episode were the show don't tell jokes, and I actually wrote the ones down that I liked, and that was actually one of the things I thought was really great. Like on the wall of the cop precinct, the office where they're interviewing Wiggum, there was a joke which was the first bribe bill.
Yeah, I saw that. Was good.
I thought that was hilarious, and that was something that was just there and funny, and it wasn't. It didn't need to be pointed to, and it was funnier because of that. There was another one too, which was again in the police precinct, which was there was a Lost Boy poster for Ralphie, and it said "small reward." So, like, quite literally in that moment, Wiggum was more worried about the interview than finding Ralphie, which I thought was hilarious, and that's sort of my favorite comedy. So,
there were some good lines in this one throughout, but that was just one of those. Just to talk about how the framework doesn't hold together or doesn't stay consistent. Yeah, I don't know why we're getting that much Ken Burns. Because they could, I guess.
And also joining the guest star list as well, Liev Schreiber was playing the Dateline narrator. And who else did we get? We got a little bit of Jackie Mason returning as Rabbi Krostodowski. Even though...
that was pointless.
Yeah, sorry if this is a spoiler, but they killed him 10 years ago or something like this. And yeah, it's like Glenn Close. They still find a reason to bring back Mona. They still find a reason to bring back Rabbi Krostowski.
Yeah, that's the point. At this point, he's cannot, the canon is he's dead.
Yeah.
So is Krusty talking to a video or is he talking to a live stream to the afterlife? What the fuck?
Yeah, that's one of those questions. I was wondering the same thing. It's like, is this a recorded video that just says, "I'm still disappointed in you"?
Yeah.
Then what does he expect? You just got your dad on the recording, just constantly being like, "I'm disappointed. I am so disappointed.
So disappointed.
Did you think this would make me happy? Hi, Dad. I'm video."
Does anyone else have this video? In their
no. What a weird thing.
Look, we can record a podcast.
Yeah.
We'll just record, let's get a couple of minutes on the end telling everyone how proud we are of it.
Yeah.
That'll be delightful.
Yes, this is a wholesome, supportive area, this is.
Exactly.
And the other guest star, Will Forte. Will Fort, playing King Toot. Yeah, I thought he was all right in this.
I have that in my notes as well.
I was that's not the character of the guy who runs King Toots.
Also in my notes. I don't know when that happened. I was going to ask you guys, what happened to the original King Toots shop owner? Is that canonical, or is that just the world changes, but you don't see everything?
No, I'm pretty sure they brought Will Fort in for this role once or twice in the past. But yeah, back in the day, the store attendant was that very droopy Doug sounding guy from that episode where Homer's buying the reed and going to Moe's beforehand and all that.
Yeah, Lisa's pony, I think.
Yeah. Good brain.
So I don't know what happened to that character.
Good brain.
It was just I guess Will Fort's character, King Toot, just stole the shop.
Yeah.
It happened in Simpsons Tapped Out.
Yeah.
They brought out Tapped Out, and they're just like, oh, this character needs to be switched out for something that's a little bit more exciting, and then...
Gotta sell them a new character model.
Yeah.
No, that's it. They find out they can get a guest star who's not playing themselves, and they're like, can we morph a character a bit? It's like how Sarah Wiggum is now played by Megan Mullally, and it's just,
odd. Yeah.
Really weird decision. So let's start the questionnaire. BT, for better or worse, what's a moment from this episode that stands out to you?
I'm going to give it to my first laugh, which was the Simpsons banner gag, which is just Mr. Burns being carried by a falcon. It's holding onto the falconer glove.
All right.
Okay, that actually got me. It needed him having the glove because it tells the story of, he was trying falconry for some reason, but he only weighs as much as his clothes and keys, as we know.
Yeah.
And so the falcon carried him off. Okay, that got me. Episode, you were starting me off well. What else you got?
But that was just the intro crawl of The Simpsons. It was another straight in. We didn't even get couch gag or Springfield intro.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. I have a half page of notes. I've got another one if you really want me to bring up that, but I figured I'd leave something for others.
Yeah, let's see what happens. How about you, Dread? What's a moment from this episode that stands out to you for better or worse?
Okay, so there was I liked the hidden Easter eggs. I was looking for those because the plot was harder to follow. So I was looking for references. I was looking for, jokes in the background. I don't know how you guys fall on the conspiracy future reading range as well. I have in my notes here, does the lost money mean anything? $670.40. Is that something?
Well, what does that add up to if we put it all together?
Yeah, exactly. Is that a hidden date or some sort of code? We don't know. Actually, it's $670.42. I guess, one of those moments, my laugh, I really loved the interaction where they went to Mr. Burns's house and they were like, you stole the money. You're obsessed with money. You definitely stole the money. It's like, I don't care about money, and just throws it in the fire. Do you want me to prove it more? And then throws more in the fire. And then they cut and they pull it out. And all the editor clear out this, don't put this in the final cut was funny as well.
Yeah, I liked that they had the editor on the field recording. Like,
and you got to get these things out fast, man.
It's such a beautiful day. Why don't we edit outside? You know?
Hell yeah. I did have a yas moment with the reference to Breaking Bad, just because I love Breaking Bad.
I missed that.
I like the reference, but it really went on for a long time.
It did. It was a lot for just Bart's explanation.
Yeah, what was I think I might have missed this reference.
How did you miss this reference,
right
dude?
there.
It's when he's all like, whatever I take of the money, I put back. And, there was this whole, the slime is the new toy craze at school. And this is kind of the point where it doesn't make a lot of sense. So it's got the bullies, Breaking Bad making the slime.
Oh,
and then Bart comes in a suit and takes it. And then he's all like, that's where the money went. It's like, but you were selling the slime. Why would you need $600 if you're the one selling the...
Exactly.
Like, I guess the implication would be like the materials to make it in the first place, but they don't say that. It's just one of those weird kind of, you have an idea, it's just incomplete.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't mind the gags as well that comic book guy clearly overbought and was just...
Yeah.
I did not agree to participate in your movie. Goodbye. Thank you.
Especially it's trying to do that like fear zoom on him as they walk in. He's like, nope, leave. And they have to zoom back out.
I love it. It's just like in my head, I love this idea that Bart outsold the comic book guy. And what's really great is that's, again, another great episode is the Radioactive Man episode.
Look like you got more than you bargained for.
Yeah, so good. Yeah. When you see comic book guy, not succeed, I don't know. There's a satisfaction there, an unspoken satisfaction.
Yeah, but not so blatantly. Haha, we got him. It's just him just saying, "Did not give you permission to be in this."
Yeah.
Documentary. Please leave.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you just see the several markdowns on the slime, the copious amounts
it's
of
enough.
slime.
Yeah,
just take it.
And what stands out to me? We mentioned Will Forte before. Is it Will Forte or Will Forte? I never remember. I think it's Will
Forte.
Forte
because that's more fun.
Fort.
Yeah, I'll stick with Fort and not fix it in post if I'm wrong. But yeah, I felt particularly called out because he started talking about Dave Brubeck playing in 9/8 timing and starts humming Blue Ronda a la Turk, and I'm like, oh shit, I've totally been that person. Like, no, it's really cool. He's playing in a different time signature. Listen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, you make a great first date.
But it was doing something that I didn't mind the structure of the episode, which was like systematically going through each Simpson and like figuring out their story and like potential motivation for taking the money. Like, I don't mind in terms of Lisa as well, like potentially betting her college fund against like getting the saxophone that she wants now. Like, they didn't dig into enough to it, but man, it was starting to show the skerricks of an idea that could have made this episode work.
Yeah, I think that's kind of going to be my overall problem with this one is that we've got that extended Breaking Bad sequence, and then we've got like a fourth act sequence right at the end, and it's like they clearly had more time to flesh this out, so use it.
Yeah.
Because you get at the end, this little bit where the voiceover guy is like, what? We have to tell the people what happened. That's my job. And then he needs emergency vocal cord surgery, and it's just like, guys, what are you doing?
Yeah, I totally agree there, because like it's one of those things where you're going for flash and entertainment, or you're going for substance. And some of the GERTs of Simpsons episodes, they have those, social commentary, but as well as like human moments for the Simpsons. Like, it's
almost like they balance wackiness with heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing that they would do that. Nice segue into the other thing that we like to talk about on the Simpsons Index is the balance of wackiness and heart. Classic Simpsons were often had these two categories in such strong representation. So yeah, first of all, talking about the wackiness, the voiceover guy getting a sheep's vocal fold replaced, and then he goes, bad. Oh my god, that was cartoon bullshit.
Yeah, that was that whole extra bit.
Back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Were there any other wacky cartoony moments that stood out to you guys?
Needle Beach, when they're doing like features of Springfield kind of thing. That was odd. There's a bit where they're all sitting at the coffee table and Marge is talking about how the criminal who came in and stole the money must have put a drink down because every family member here uses a coaster. And meanwhile, both Homer and Bart have cups just appearing from hammer space, and it's just weird.
That's coming from a joke where, no one in this family steals, and then Homer goes, it's borrowing, and he has a Ned coffee mug, and then he pulls out an even bigger coffee mug that says Flanders.
From where, Elliot? Where are you producing all these cups from?
I didn't mind this joke, coming back to something you were saying before, Josh, about, like, it being a bit in the background, they didn't call a lot of attention to it. And then, Bart pulling out randomly Rod and Todd mugs. Like, I don't know. I thought it was a good bit that undermined Marge's whole thing.
No, that was a good build on for sure.
Yeah.
Because you assume that it was going to be one of those things with Homer that if they were talking about stealing and it being borrowing, if that's the bit, the follow-on being Rod and Todd is hilarious.
Look, a bit I really quite liked was all the reenactment actors just wearing the Simpsons hair as like a bad hat.
Yeah, sure. This is a little bit of Burns' era as well, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. But also just when they have a cat playing Santa's little helper wearing just a dog hat. I'm like, okay. I popped pretty hard for that one.
I did. But it was also in that scene where reenactor, Homer actor was licking up sauce from all around the walls. And yeah, we were talking before the pod about mouth sounds and how it's part of the podcaster editor's job to remove such gross things. And that was
Human
all
mouths are disgusting.
Exactly.
And that was all just slurps.
It was just slurps. And apparently Disco Stew dances to it. So it's music to some people's ears.
Yeah, that was a very confusing, like half-finished joke where he's like, never heard any other music other than disco. It's like, would you really think this was music?
Sometimes the persona becomes a prison. It's like, wow, that went really deep, really fast. Thank you for that.
Didn't expect to be getting the feels from Disco Stew, but here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how he gets you.
One of the questions I had written down on my sheet, when did I'm not sure if it's Patty or Zelma, but when did that become the love interest or the obsession of Disco Stew?
I was going to ask. I have no idea. Beach, did I forget something?
Wait, when did Disco Stew have a love interest? What? I missed this bit.
If you look in the background of the Disco Stew interview, you'll see plastered everywhere is Patty and Zelma.
All right.
It looks like it's just Selma. Yeah.
I missed that.
Albeit me and Beej aren't super up to date with the season 30s plus seasons.
We pretty much just watch for this show now. I don't seek these things out of my own time most of the time.
Yeah. That's the expanded universe. The diehards know this answer.
The real Simpsons fans, not the ones
real.
who have been podcasting about it for 6 years. But on the other side of the animations and the wackiness, how was the emotional core of this episode? How was the heart?
Keep moving.
Yeah, I don't think it was really there. The opportunity may have been there. They had big moments, because if you look at the structure that they set up, like you said before, Elliot, they explored each Simpsons story, and if you look at each of the Simpsons story, they had the opportunity to show something that might be a flaw for them or something that they've changed or had challenged. Like Lisa doing something that's naughty, or
well, Lisa wanting a saxophone she can't have, and is you the one you have not enough? Bart having this money-making enterprise that fell through. Homer's got a bar tab. We knew that, but he ate sauce instead. What was Marge's red herring at the beginning? I can't remember. Possible gambling fallback on her gambling addiction. So there was all moments there that could have been played up for a bit more feeling, but. No.
Exactly. The funny moment was the whistleblower for Marge was, I believe, the Reverend's wife, right? And she was in the background gambling.
And drinking.
She was like, and drinking. My friend recently saw her gambling. And it's quite literally her, which I thought was one of those quiet jokes.
Nice.
Those show don't tell jokes that I really appreciated in the background.
Yeah, and Helen Lovejoy has always, been a gossipy, snippy sort of lady as well. So totally ties into her character.
Exactly.
This is like the episode attempting to use their history to pull a heart moment from this because, it turns out in the end it was Marge who took the money, and it's because she wanted to invest in her invention of stick-on coasters, rubber coasters that you stick onto your cups.
To just not be mentioned anywhere until the end. Yeah.
There was one subtle thing that I noticed, which was I think that they were saying that they were trying, I don't know if she did this on purpose or not, but there was pointing to coasters in the middle of the episode. I was like, were you trying to do like placed advertisement, Marge, or is this sort of one of those things that, was just like a coincidence? But to answer it is that there was no setup, there was no stakes on Marge needing that. It wasn't one of those things where like Marge is really needing something for her. She needs to be an entrepreneur or make a business or bet on herself.
Or just thinks it's a good idea and wants to. I do like her line of, I was gambling, I was betting on myself.
Yeah.
But because there's no stake to it, that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, it's a very, like, partial credit for the episode. Like, to tie in the character's history and, you know, desire to do something a bit more with her life. But because of the way that the plot unrolled, that, yeah, there weren't, I mean, you could technically count the scene where, yeah, all the Simpsons realizing, oh, we're not using coasters on that weirdly colored table, that their table's never been that color. Anyway, nerdy Simpsons fan logging in.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it was sort of peppered throughout the episode, I guess you get a bit of Marge in the interviews being very, like, yeah, doth protest too much, like, very defensive of her family. No, everybody's innocent. End of story, you know?
She was the only one that was like, don't consider the rest of the family. So maybe that was the setup. I know as a storyteller recently, I've been thinking a lot about I heard this quote from another game master, Brendan Lee Mulligan, which is that when you go to a comedy skit, you sit down and you're listening to comedy, you're not laughing at just the punchline, you're laughing at the setup as well. And I think that there was no real setup. So when we got to the punchline, we were, where did that come from?
The big reveal comes up and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think that's where, for me, it fell a lot of flat for the heart moment. You know, there was no lead up to that story moment.
Yeah.
I think the whole third act of this one is pretty weak sauce.
No, I mean, it's a nice moment that the family are just like, oh, Mom, you know, that's okay. But, like, yeah, because it all felt very inconsequential anyway. Like,
yeah. Like, the kids get told, oh, rats ate the money. And they're both just like, okay, guess rats did it.
Yeah.
That's another point right there. Exactly. They could have had a moment where, you know, Marge was seen as doing something that wasn't Marge, which would have invited a new sort of like development. I know Simpsons isn't like fully in the whole like character development because it kind of like soft resets, right? But it's you kind of watch it for that situation to see what happens in that echo chamber of that episode, right?
Yeah, well, because usually a story like this would be like, yeah, Marge unraveling and like more and more failing to keep up this secret. But yeah, because the film crew leave and then Homer lies for Marge, which, yeah, is a nice enough sort of ending. But yeah, because we didn't sort of see Marge, spiral a bit, and we as the audience get clued in that she's like hiding something. Like this, like it just feels like she's trying to protect her family, which is a nice enough cover, but it does just feel like, oh, that's why at the end.
Yeah.
Not, all the pieces fit.
It's not your Kaiser Soze moment.
Like, I was hoping with this episode to, like, ask you guys at one point, oh, did you have any clues?
Did you figure it out?
Yeah. But I'm guessing...
There wasn't any. No, yeah. Like, it feels like, pun intended here, they really coasted on this episode. So there was no coasters in the background. I think the only sort of nod was the fact that, like, Marge was talking about coasters on the table and whatnot.
Yeah, but that was it. And she was like, I know one in my family would ever not use a coaster. And then surely it would be the opposite if you were driven to the point where you invented one.
Yeah. And then you'd start seeing them appearing in scenes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But ultimately, did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these the characters we know and love? Is this the show we know and love?
Yeah. A bit assembly line, but I don't think there's any major character breaks or anything.
It felt like an easy watch.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that I had to think about too much apart from like going through it for the podcast, which is really fun, guys. Thank you so much for having
absolutely.
me.
No, it's always such a bummer when I bring on a new guest, especially, you know, we've gotten to know each other a lot over the past few weeks, Dread, in the course of bringing the campaign together. And yeah, it's always the thing, I've made a new friend. I should invite him on the podcast to watch a bit of a bummer of an episode. Like, this one wasn't too bad. Like, I was actually like pretty, to steal your pun, like just coasting through this one. But then it was really the ending that sort of pissed me off, and then sort of went for a nosedive thereafter, and then anyway.
Yeah.
So that's sort of,
it's gets hard to talk about something we either don't really like or really hate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you sit down to listen to a story or read a book or watch an episode, there's a certain amount of investment that you need to put in, which is predominantly time, right? And your curiosity. And so when you have something that sort of like breaks or breaches that expectation or that return on investment, it can be hard, right?
Yeah.
But when something is like The Simpsons, which is so long and trusted, It's an interesting sort of like situation to think about. Are you going to sit down for a good Simpsons episode this time, or is it going to be one of those episodes where it kind of falls flat?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, this episode doesn't ask much of you. You could very comfortably put it on while you're, you know, doing housework or just scrolling on your phone or something. But like, yeah, that's not what classic Simpsons asked of you. You know, it demanded quite a bit more than this.
You will pay attention to all the intricate jokes.
So, yeah, we like to workshop episodes a bit. So, BT, what would you like to change about this episode?
Steak. Steak.
Money's too tight for steak.
Steak?
Halfway through Wilbur.
Yeah. Look, we all said it. There's just not really a big feeling of this even really mattering. And if that was kind of the joke, then make it the show's trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, as in the what was it, whatever the show within a show, and this was called, I can't remember, Dateline. Yeah. Like, have them trying to, you know, make local news exciting and sexy and be like, it was just a minor inconvenience, guys. It's okay. Or to the converse of that, have Lisa really distraught at the idea that she's not going to have enough for college, or even like a week of college, or the other things that money could have gone to. There's a bit where she kind of directly just blames Bart, and there could be some emotion there, but it's just, there's not really anything to it. And then the resolution is just, look, Marge took it for this coaster invention and it's okay. It's like, well, did that invention work? Did it, like, how is this the end of it? That this was not mentioned previously. I think we're all pretty unanimous in that third act just lets this whole thing down. Because I was having a good enough time up until the end where it all gets, when it should pull together, it all fell apart.
How about you, Dread? What would you like to change about this one?
There's a lot of points there that BT said that I totally agree with. And, you know, one of the banes or blessings, if you will, one or the other, you can choose, of a storyteller's mind is you start looking for meaning. You start looking for things that make it make sense, right? Like, for example, the Dateline is what they're trying to say. The show is dated. They had a joke there, which was Homer is the only one that watches network television and the ads and can ruin them, as he is the powerhouse of the viewership now that everyone's streaming and watching. Is the joke, again, that, you know, we don't know how it ends with Marge, because most of the time with the shows that they reference, like Making a Murderer and whatnot, you don't know the ending, and so you're sort of left on the edge of your seat, and they're kind of making a joke at that. It's hard to sit in the chair and, you know, not get a full resolution. But it felt like, for me, it felt like they weren't really taking the joke seriously, or, you know, have to leap through a lot of hoops to get to that joke. I think that what I would do is just like simplify it and, again, show, not tell. And if you're not showing us different perspectives of the characters, you know, go wacky, go wild.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a cover-up. Maybe it was the police, or it was Mr. Burns, because that would be a fun episode. Flip it on its head. It was Mr. Burns that did it, and that's a great reference to the goat, right?
And like, the idea that he just found out, they're just keeping money in like a empty cleaning product case. That's ridiculous. I'm going to take that.
Exactly. So, like, I think that they were trying... I don't know who the writers were. I don't know exactly what was happening in the episode, but it felt convoluted, which is something that I try not to say in the storytelling space, because it is hard to write a good story sometimes. But they're on a professional level. They've got funding. They're doing it for a living, for our entertainment. So I hope that the rest of the season doesn't go this way. I think there's only one more episode, by the way, in the season.
Oh, yeah. So, and that was when Marge got into crystals. You remember that one, BT?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember I've seen it. I don't remember anything about it.
Actually, coincidentally, we reviewed that with One Good Thing, whose merch I'm drinking out of right now.
Yes, One Good Thing, the podcast for thing understanding about movies. Listen to it. It's good.
That's the best promo that they've had yet.
Yeah.
Advert right there. Soundbite.
As for what I'd change, I think not only do they need to lean into the format harder and, what you were talking about, BT, like, not break the format. Don't go to bits of the episode where it's clearly not in the Dateline thing. You know, you're going to do this, you know. We love when Simpsons go for a format change and, like, ape another show's style. And, these sort of sensationalist current affairs and even murder mystery shows, like they mentioned, Making a Murderer, that don't have an ending. If that was part of it, like, and it wasn't just the show's ended, and as an aside, audience, here's what actually happened. Like, keep it within the show style, because there's a legitimate point to be made with that. And, one of the things that good investigative shows about, like, murders or mysteries or anything like that, where it's, Netflix or podcasts or a Dateline sort of show, they will sort of follow the leads, but and individual characters of the thing, but also because they're intertwined in each other's stories, you do get little bits of everyone else's stories, even when you're focusing on another person. This is very much passing the pot baton. This is like, who stole the cookies from the cookie jar? And and now it's Lisa's turn to say, I didn't steal them. Like, couldn't be.
It's quite literally that. Who stole the cookies from the cookie jar? It's just under the sink in a cleanser can. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and they're just sort of passing around the story rather than being intertwined. It's asking the show to, do a lot more work. But I'm just saying that's going to make a better episode in the end. Like,
definitely.
Not feel so disposable. All right, I think we are here. Yeah, it's time for everyone's final notes.
Now it's time for our final notes. Everyone's final notes, mystery edition.
Who did the notes? Dread, do you have any other notes, parts of this episode you want to mention before we rank this thing?
It's a mystery. I'm going to end and not tell you exactly what it is.
I
was excited about Will Fort as well as King Toot. I think that's great.
That was a fun cameo.
You've got that recognizable voice.
Again, feel so called out by that Dave Brubeck bit. But
you should.
I feel robbed that there was no couch at the start. And I know that's probably one of the newer things that they did with the newer episodes. But again, it's just one of those old things, traditions that you sit down on the couch with them and see what happens.
To skip the intro is one thing. To skip the couch gag entirely as well.
It's weird because, Dread, one of our complaints about like the 20s seasons is that the couch gags would often be like these 2 to 4 minute sketches that, we're like, you're really padding out this episode. And now the trend seems to be just skipping the intro entirely. And I think that's such a bad swing in the other direction.
But when they clearly don't have enough episode for it.
Yeah.
So
it's too much in the other direction, right? I guess my final note for the whole episode, and I don't know if it's too close to what we just spoke about, which is what we would change, is I didn't feel the social commentary in this too strongly. And Simpsons is one of those things that you either go there for, wacky cartoon, heartfelt moments, or social commentary. And I think this was an attempt on the abundance of mystery shows that we have.
True crime stuff, because there's something to be said about, taking a mystery, but then putting like the focus of did they do it on people that by this point in editing, didn't. But you have to make your, full 7-episode season or whatever, so you got to drag it out excruciatingly long sometimes.
Yeah, and where it can be is this responsibility in journalism thing, like, that's worth investigating because, like, the investigator of this episode, like, goes to Lisa, you did it, didn't you? Like, and they could have lent into that a bit more, Yeah,
they exposed the fact that she needs a hopscotch tutor. Which is also a joke I quite like.
I did like that.
I did enjoy that. And I couldn't help but wonder what other tutors are out there that we have no idea about. And then my mind just went to, it's Skillshare. There, you just go to Skillshare. We're not sponsored, by the way. You probably got cut.
However, if you need any kind of advice on hundreds of different classes, then write on Chip. No, not till they pay me. But see how good we could be at this Skillshare?
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly. But that was a great joke.
Absolutely. BT, your final notes.
There's a bit where they're doing the dramatic reading of this family being torn apart, and they like pick up the photo of the family and throw it in like a frying pan and then add butter on top.
Yeah, and then I quite like that. And they flipped it with the spatula of something, and I'm like, now you bring it up. That's what this episode had needed, like so many more of those sort of moments.
Yeah, well, they do that in Behind the Laughter where they're like, this family was going to be torn apart. They like knock the the photo frame over, and then it breaks, and then a hammer just comes off screen and just starts breaking it some more. And it needed a little bit more of that kind of over dramatic, because that's funny. I got a good laugh out of that. Lisa's 911 phone call. He's like, there's been a robbery, send help. And he's like, well, you could say please. And he's like, this is an emergency. He's like, well, I mean, the only thing that's been stolen is your manners. I kind of like that. And then at the end of that as well, when he's all like, okay, well, I'm going to go now, beep, and it just has fake dial tone as he's just making the dial tone sound. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Sassy operator was pretty great.
Yeah, another one of Raphael's many jobs. The Ways-talking Brooklyn guy.
There's a bit where they, investigate, Police Chief Wiggum and Lou come, and they kind of investigate the crime scene, and they're like, the dog didn't even bark. And he's, looking over him with one of those UV lights. It's like, whoever broke in, knew exactly how to scratch his tummy. And then they do a reenactment where Lou's scratching Chief Wiggum's stomach. And okay, that got me as well. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I was going to say that was the one exception to this role, but Wiggum and Lou were insufferable in this episode.
Oh, yeah. Later, there's a bit later on. I can't remember what they're doing, but it just goes on and it gets worse.
Is it the one where Wiggum's like acting like a in-love teenager?
Like I could be interested. I can be interested in someone,
not
but not.
interesting.
I can find them interesting, but not be interested, which was okay, but it just dragged on too long.
And where did it come from?
I don't know.
He has a crush on Homer, apparently.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit, again, I like a lot of these jokes where they're talking about how Homer came home drunk and ate spaghetti and got sauce like all over the walls, and they do like a crime scene blood splatter kind of effect thing of like they got sauce on the walls, on the table, and how did he clean it up? With a cleaner. Before they reveal that he just licked it all up. Yeah. Oh yeah, and they analyze his pants by I can't remember what, but having like some kind of entry place.
That was like the lead into Disco Stew. It was like, and had the buttocks dexterity type in all the exact numbers to call Disco Stew.
Yeah, butt dial Disco Stew. But they're like trying to get Homer's pants and like, I can't remember what it was, but some club like admission, 1 pair of pants. And that's how they get his pants. Like, okay, that was also pretty good.
Like football, beer, and bottomless wings or something like that.
Yeah, and again, just a good part of the shows of the Dateline narration was like, Lisa needed a new read, but you can't spell greed without read.
Yeah, read.
And just overdoing it. I thought that was fun. And that was all my notes. Surprisingly positive.
Yeah, I only had a couple more. I liked the first-person perspective when they're walking into Bart's room and he does the old, pull the bucket of water prank. That was... I like playing with perspectives and visuals like that in the cartoon space. Like, it's a tried-and-true old-timey gag, but seeing it in that way was... original way to do it.
Yeah, that was a good take. That was a good scene as well. I enjoyed that too.
And probably my biggest laugh from the episode is when the end where Homer's leading the charge to misdirect the blame and he puts it on Grandpa and, why is everyone blaming me? Ding! Oh, the cat's done. And like he walks off, but in that exact second you're like processing, wait, what? And then Bart immediately walks in frame with the cat.
Yeah, I know. I was a little disappointed in that. It feels like they're trying to be like, no, the cat's okay. Don't worry. Yeah. Whereas to just leave it hanging would have been kind of funnier.
No, there was something to the immediacy that like, it felt like I got caught off guard twice. Like, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
All right, it is time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using a 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just meh, you give it a participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. Man, even like bringing up some of the jokes we liked, I was like, maybe this is a Bond episode, but like that ending pissed me off so much. Like I was having a fine enough time with it, but then it really took a nosedive at the end. So like I'm going to go participant, but I'm going to say on the record I was close to bronze. BT, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm the same way. We've said before that if you're going to get anything right, get the ending right. That said, I enjoyed the ride of this one a lot more. I kind of walked away on a bronze, and it's like, it is worse than a bronze, but I am going to go with a bronze. I feel like I enjoyed it enough. I'd probably rewatch it again, but I would go to the bathroom in the last 5 minutes.
Fair enough. Dread, please finish it off.
I'm definitely going to go under bronze. I mean, it's not a failure. It's still a Simpsons episode. I think that I've seen other Simpsons episodes that are worse. So I would say, would you say it's participant? It's like under.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say it's under a bronze for me for sure. It didn't rank on the massive range there from like bronze, silver, gold, or cubic zirconia.
Oh, yeah. We were never going to get higher than a bronze.
It was okay. I probably wouldn't race back to watch that episode again. Yeah. There's only one reason I'd watch it again, and it's to see if they like sneakily snuck in posters places. But I don't think that they would have done that. So
that'll be a shiny participant overall, and that'll be the second highest ranked episode from season 30 so far.
Out of how many?
Wow. We've almost done them all, actually. I think we're about 6 episodes shy of finishing season 30. But yeah, the one that beat it out was My Sports, where Bart becomes a World of Warcraft or League of Legends more style gamer.
Yeah.
And then they get to go to Korea to play games.
Yeah, and it's weird. Also with a weird ending.
Yeah.
One of those social commentary episodes again about the modern day.
Not social commentary so much as this is a thing. Let's make an episode about the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's get some lols about lol.
I gotta say, it's impressive how far you guys have made it through all
Till
the
we
seasons.
die.
Yeah, wow.
We're
It's
into the end,
huge.
baby.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a nice change of pace because season 30 so far is our worst ranked season. There is
it sounds like it's a dredge. So thank you for your service, and someone has to do it, and I'm glad it's you guys.
Well,
So-
no, and thank you for joining us today on this
Hells yeah.
wild ride. I'm glad to bring you into the fold. And
It's been my absolute pleasure. You guys are a complete joy.
yeah, no,
Yeah. You are a woohoo for me, not a dough. Is how
Well,
it is.
I'm
on the
afraid
2-point scale, yeah.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
is
yeah.
one more mystery we must unfurl.
Ooh.
And that is very simple.
Oh my god,
You
I
see-
almost forgot. Thank you, Beach.
You're out somewhere and it's a rainy day. It's grey overhead and the gutters are filling slowly with rain. As you walk down the street, you get a pang in your stomach. You're hungry. You step inside a diner. You sit down, and as you look at the menu, you see the Dread sandwich. This is the sandwich that is named after you. And so the question is, if you could have a sandwich named after you, what would be on that sandwich? And if that's indeed too hard, then the simple question of what's the best sandwich?
I am speechless.
I know, it's a tough question.
This is a big question. This is not. You guys aren't mucking around here.
Oh, no,
this
not
is,
at all.
This is a proper question.
Oh, yeah. Because hidden somewhere on the Simpsons Index website is the secret sandwich board of
So,
all
like-
the responses we have had of our new guests. So, yeah.
My gosh,
Take a
'cause
moment
you
if
can
you
get
need it.
right into it and go with like different bread types, different meats, and where they're
yeah.
imported from. And,
We've had
you know,
people specify sauces, what exact
Wow.
mayonnaise they want.
Yeah.
Okay,
This is all
geez.
you. So what am I, if I sit down and I order the Dread, what am I getting?
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go with all the meat and all the cheese, and it definitely melted. As for sauces, you probably don't need any sauces. Let's leave off the sauces. I just want meat. I want meat and melted cheese is what you're gonna get. We're going turkey, cranberries. We want salami or some sort of like processed meat for sure for that like tang and
Little bit of
spice.
heat.
Let's go for a good cheddar. A nice mild sort of cheddar, which is really great. It's got like cranberries and bread, toasted bread for sure. You need something cool in there, something that's not cool, something that's like not normal.
Yeah.
Let's
Something to
say
space it out.
unicorn meat. Unicorn meat and tears of an angel on there, as what I'll say. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds
And toasted
tasty.
by dragon breath.
Yeah.
And then, it's cursed by an elder being from Cthulhu. Is that sandwich?
That's awesome.
First cursed sandwich we've had. All right.
Yes, but it comes with free yogurt. So there you go.
It's cursed, but it gives you gluten resistance.
Right.
That's good.
Do I get my choice of topping?
All right. Well, it's about time we get out of here. But yeah, once again, plug your stuff, Dread. Where can they find us on Thursdays at 7 p.m. AEST?
Hells yeah. Hop onto Twitch, type in DreadedGM, and you should be able to find the channel there. And then, hit that follow button, and you'll get the notifications when it goes live. If you want to find what I'm doing, there is a link tree that has links to everything that I'm doing across the internet. Currently working on developing all the platforms, which is really exciting. But our flagship show right now is Call of Cthulhu Horror in the Orange Express, which is a mega campaign. It's 2 massive terms. Expect mystery, expect dark and scary things. So everyone is laughing and having fun at the table. We're all horror fans, which is really great as well, so I can really lean into it.
Expect Elliot with a British accent.
It's so great. Yeah.
Me doing my best stay for minute.
Yeah, there it is. There it is right there. And currently in the campaign, if you're listening to this later, Elliot and the Scooby Gang, or the Mystery Gang, they're currently in hot water. There is a lot going on. There's a lot of people looking for people. They're on the lam. They're trying to get away.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. And it's all ramping up to the next sort of story point, which will push them off to like the main sort of story, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So it's all chaotic right now, but in a good way. There's a lot of players on the board and a lot of threads that are flying all over the place. So, yeah.
No, you've been running such a fun campaign, and especially the last episode was just Oh my god, like it's so much tension in the air and things are starting to get very weird, and like I think we're all settled into our characters now, and long-time listeners of the podcast will know Sean from Roll to Cast. He's also on that campaign. So yeah, links to everything will be in the show notes, but yeah, that's twitch.tv/DreadedGM. We're live every Thursday at about 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Time. Yeah, check your local things for when that is on in your area.
Hells yeah, hope to see you guys there.
Awesome. And BT, what if people can't get enough of us?
Well, if they want to search for the forbidden tomes, they can type into their web browser, patreon.com/SideQuestStudios. This is the blanket for everything that we do, including over 100 episodes exclusive to the Patreon that you can get right now for as little as the price of a cup of coffee a month. That is like nothing. Oh my gosh. Such value, such good.
Usually you struggle with doing the spruiking. Running into it in DM mode, I think you were able to handle it a lot better.
It kind of working for you.
Yeah, it felt like it clicked something.
There's a switch we all have as game masters that we flick sometimes, and we just go into GM mode.
Yeah.
And we start describing everything, like the smells, the scents, where you are, what's happening, and
the rising sense of dread, like the steam coming off the freshly dried pavement.
Exactly right. You can hear the clitter clatter of the rails and wheels, building a sense of dread. It's a lot of fun. Game mastering is a lot of fun, and I think that is one of the really cool things that you guys bring to the table, being people that purvey in the TTRPG space, is that you get to be a part of the story, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, but yeah, loving making the TTRPG content. We're not doing that over at the Patreon. All of our bonus podcasts are all very Simpsons focused. We're reviewing the DVD extras, catching BT up on some episodes that he missed, and also one of the series where there's a bit of a Patreon perk where you can tell us what movie to review as long as it stars one of the cast members of The Simpsons. So yeah, through that we've gone through such a wide array of movie suggestions.
Super Mario Brothers, Godzilla,
Click.
90s version.
Marge is Adam Sandler's mum in Click, and you see her bone the Fonz.
That is such a great idea.
You can make us watch Adam Sandler films for as little as a cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee.
Yeah. So yeah, go check that out. Patreon.com/SideQuestStudios. But for now, yeah, that's about it. That's been DreadedGM.
Yay. I don't know. I don't have a soundbite. What am I to do?
That classic catchphrase of his. Yeah, yar.
Yar. Yeah.
Thank you, BT.
You know, I see how hard you're working out there, and I'm proud of you.
Oh, yeah. Well done, you listener. Smart listener, listening to great podcasts like this.
You just keep going. You'll make it. I believe in you.
And I've been Elliot Jay O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can also check out our other shows, like Pulp Fury Radio, our scripted fiction podcast, which tells all original stories across a range of pulp genres, and Thrones of Game, where we review Game of Thrones in reverse order. Links to those podcasts and more will be available in the show notes. Now, there's no bonus scenes for this episode, so we'll catch you next week.